Okay, how to program better drums to get them to sound more full, more interesting, and just more dynamic when you're going to make your beats. Let's go! What is up, everybody? I am Legend, and as you know, today is Track Out Tuesday, so we are going to be talking about how to sequence your drums, how to program your drums to make them sound more full and interesting. And for those of you who've never programmed drums before, or you don't really feel like you have the knowledge to make your drums sound exciting, this video is for you. You can use these tips in any DAW that you have. This is more so like a principle type thing. It's not so much a how to make a beat in FL Studio or something like that. It's kind of an approach to how you go about making your drums. So you can use this in whatever program you're using. Just apply the knowledge that I say. And this is my personal tips, the way that I go about crafting my drums, any kind of genre, it doesn't matter. These are my tips. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into Machine so we can take a look at how I would go about doing this. Okay, so first of all, I gotta say, I apologize for the mess in the background. I'm actually working on renovating my room or my studio because I really want this to look more satisfying on camera. But anyway, how to program your drums to make them sound more interesting, more full. When you're going to make your drums, obviously what you want to start with is the foundation. And the foundation comes only once you've decided what kind of track you want to make. So if that track is going to be a dance hall track, if it's going to be a trap song, if it's going to be a pop song, you know, there's different things that you can do to facilitate your foundation. And so I'm going to go to a song called Rise Up, or a beat called Rise Up that I was working on. This is my foundation right here. I wanted to keep it really simple. Give the rapper some room to breathe, some room to rap, do his thing. You know, we've heard this pattern in so many different hip hop songs. It's unbelievable. So you guys, you know, it's a foundation of the hip hop track, and there's different foundation. Like I said, this is not the only surefire way to start one, but it's just so. Once I had that down, I wanted to make this beat sound more intricate, so I wanted to add to it. This is step 2. I wanted to give it some intricacity, some details. Intricicities, is that a word? I wanted to give it some details and some things that would spice it up. Usually what I do is I go next to the hi-hat. Open hi-hat, close hi-hat. I usually add both because I like to play around with and things like that. So I added both, but we're gonna start with the close hi-hat. So this is my next step. I usually go kick, snare, hi-hat, and then whatever else I want to add. So here is the kick, the little clap sound, and the closed hi-hat that I added. Now I can't teach rhythm, me personally. I mean, somebody can teach it, but me, I'm not good at teaching that kind of stuff because that's super technical. You got to get into eighth notes, quarter notes, all these different things. I'm not going to really get into that because this video could be hours and hours and hours long. But for me, it's just a feeling. So I found the hi-hat, and then when the kick was playing, so I was just feeling it, and that's what came out of me at the time. When I'm making a beat, and I'll probably show an example in a minute, but I just play around with whatever it is I'm doing until I'm happy with the sound altogether. In me playing around and let it loop, I also added an open hi-hat to accent that close hi-hat. Ooh, it's like So it's also kind of playing around with that snare. And then in addition to the clicking noise of the clap, the snare, I decided to add some little wood blocks to kind of play around with those as well. I think it sounds great. Tip number 3, I would say, would be to subtract. Sometimes I'll have a hi-hat or a snare or something that's doing a little bit too much. And as I'm building out the entire song, or the beat rather, and I have all these instrumentations and things going on, sometimes it gets to be a little bit too much. And what I had previously doesn't work any longer with what I currently have the drums doing. So you can start with, what I always say, it's always better to give more in the beginning and then subtract from it later than to not produce enough and then have to add on to it later. For me, that's how that works best for me. So I did a lot of that with the hi-hat, like the little in-betweens here. You see these blank spaces, blank space, here, blank space. And I let the beat just kind of develop on its own. I didn't try to force anything. But then I added this little rim shot and these other little clicking noises and sounds because it gives the drums character. This is without it. And then once I brought it in, this is what it sounds like. And a little click too. So again, the idea was basically to make the beat sound intricate. That's exactly what I did by adding these little clicks and in between the kicks and the snares and the hi-hats to fill in those little blank spaces. Not too much, but just enough to where it, oh, there's a click. Oh, like that's what I like to do. And then you play that with the instrumentation and this is what it sounds like. I love that drum pattern. It's one of my favorite drum patterns I've ever done. So just to kind of further demonstrate, because there's 2 other steps, I have an idea, I guess, for a song. But for me, I usually start with the instrumentation first. So let me just lay down some instrumentation. Then we'll get to the drums. Like that, we'll just do it. So we subtracted, we added, we laid our foundation. Now we want to layer up these drums. So let me go back to kicks and see if we can layer up a drum with other sounds that'll make it more beefy or give it more character. Some reverb on this just kind of give it like a everybody's clapping type thing. In this case, I think the hi-hats are doing maybe a little bit too much. I want to see what it sounds like without the hi-hats, see if I actually want to keep it in. This is another part of the subtraction. I really like how that sounds. You know what? I'm just gonna simplify this and just do a basic open hi-hat close. Okay, so for the most part, this is our basic general idea. After all of these steps, now the final step would be, for me personally, to spice it up. And I've kind of already been doing that by adding these different reverbs and filters and things like that on these different drums. But also, if you want to see, you know, if there will be a loop, let's say arcade or loop cloud that you can use, that'll give you a little bit more mileage with your drums. You can also do that as well. And so that's what I'm going to do today. Hey, hey. Come on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is also when the subtraction comes into play, because once you build all your things, you add all your parts and you do all your intricate parts and things like that, you can subtract on different sections of the song to get totally different vibes. Like, everything together sounds really dope, but when you subtract and have that whole less is more attitude, you get things like this. This is perfect for like a breakdown or a verse or something like that. Oh, let's go. Hey, Bruno Mars, Cardi B, hey. Oh my God. Hey, hey, ow. Love on the beginning of the bump. Hey, them on the beginning of the bump. Give it not palm and again with the jump. I don't know the look in the eye, the look not palm at the beginning of the vibe, but not ain't no normal, but they won't bump, but then on the inner, let's go. Hey. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below in the comments. Please like this video, share this video, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, turn on the bell notifications so you'll be notified every time I upload a brand new video. I'll be back here on Thursday with the next episode of Sound Architect. As always, stay legendary. That was a nightmare!